Welcome to Authentic Wellness with Joni and Joey. I'm Joni.
And I'm Joey.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. Love the hair.
Oh, thank you. I fixed it for
I know.
a change.
I just have to point that out.
So I want to read a quote.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I think that's a great idea.
This is how I want to start. The unconscious self is impulsive, reactive, and self-serving. It is motivated by a need for attention, validation, and approval. This is your shadow. The higher self is patient, peaceful, and connected. It is motivated by creation, authentic expression, and love. This is your light. That is a quote from today's guest.
Today's guest is going to be so awesome.
Kara Elizabeth Lewis,
Yes.
the author of Ascension.
Yes.
She's also an artist.
She's an artist. She's a teacher. She's an author. She's
A creator.
She's a creator. I think that's the perfect description for her.
And she's definitely a spiritual being.
Absolutely. We talk about the guests that come in and you can just feel their spirit and their light. And she's another one that the first time I met her, she came busting into a Starbucks. She was late, which she talks about in her book.
Yes.
And it just, as soon as she came in, the whole place, you could just feel the energy kind of went up a level.
Well, I can't wait to meet her. I haven't met her yet.
I know.
I read her book, so I feel like I know her.
Yes.
But I can't wait until she gets here.
She is, again, like we said, a creator. She comes from education, so she's worked with small children and older children too. But she's an art teacher, but she learned how to incorporate some of the things she talks about into her book, into her teaching with the children, which I think is really fascinating.
Well, I love that because, she talks about, she actually goes through the different chakras and, how if they're in balance or out of balance and what you can do, different techniques through meditation, crystals, oils, just all these different things to balance yourself and figure it out.
Right.
And then she tells her story along the way too.
Yeah. And the thing I love about it is she explains it as if she would explain it to a child. So it's easy to follow. She has crafts, like you can make things. It's just fantastic. I can't wait to hear her talk about all of it.
Me too. She'll be here soon.
She will. Stay tuned. All right, so did you feel the energy shift when Kara came in?
Yes.
I was saying before you got here that when Kara walks in a room, the energy just lights up. So welcome, Kara Elizabeth Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
It's so
Thank you
nice
for
to
having
meet you.
me. Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you. So we gave an intro to you, but also to your book.
And I read your book, so I feel like I know you already.
Yes, yes. And to the audience out there, Joni and I kind of laugh that we don't really sell things on the show. We put links up and we put things for people to be able to access if they want. But we've both agreed that we want everybody we know to have this book.
Oh, I know. Christmas is coming. Everybody I know may be getting this book for Christmas.
Yes, yes. And if we don't know you, highly, highly recommend that you go get this book because, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So, oh dear, and it has a life of its own. So, tell us about Kara. Where'd you come from? How'd you get to this? Give us kind of your story.
Okay, so born in West Virginia, small town, Morgantown, and I was there until I was 15. And at that point, my mom shipped me to North Carolina. I was shipped here.
In a package or?
No, in a car. In a car. But I was making horrible decisions in my life. I was running from everything, right? Running from my reality and trying to numb myself from the reality that I was living. And so my mom shipped me here at 15 and it was a whole new world. It was just a whole new understanding of life, right? So where I come from is a lot of poverty and addiction. And that is what we saw as children from the adults. All of the adults around us were uneducated and addicted.
Wow.
And so that was just what we knew. And they shared with the children, right? And so coming here was an eye-opener that there's way more to life than what I had experienced so far. So I finished school and ended up getting married and having a child, and life just came at me so fast, right? And so I didn't really have a childhood, is what I discovered, right? I grew up so fast, and then all of a sudden here I was, an adult, a mom, right, in my career.
Which,
And
even if it happens later on, is a pretty big shock sometimes.
it is yes, it's a shock. And so here I was, I'm running on this hamster wheel, right, of life, and I talk about that in my book. And I was miserable, right? The life was literally just being sucked out of me every day. That's how it felt. I couldn't keep up. And so something had to shift, something needed to shift. And so I sold everything that I owned almost, and I jumped the ship. I packed up my child and my 2 dogs and 10 suitcases, and we went to the Bahamas. And in search of this happy, right? In search of freedom, maybe is the word. And so what I learned through that experience is that freedom has to be an inside job. Right?
Well, when you said to find happy, I think you finally discovered that happy's here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. But you have to be very intentional in creating that, right? And so we get lost, I think, in this running to the next best thing. And that's what I was doing in my career, right? The next level, right, on the ladder, and the next title, right? The next happy, the next new couch, and the next nicest car, and the next biggest house, right? And that's what I was always running towards. Happy had to be the next thing.
And I think you're not alone in that. A lot of people, we talk about authentic wellness, but I think there's also an authentic happiness, and people like to attach a label to what that happiness is, when in fact, it's like you said, something you have to find inside,
regardless of the circumstance, regardless of where you are, right? So I found that, right? And that's really what this is all about. I went on this search of self, right? Who am I?
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Where do I come from? Who do I belong to, right? All of those, it's a remembering.
Yeah. And the thing that I love about this book and what you talk about, and I reference this in the intro, is I don't know if it's from your educational background of working with children, but you talk about things working through chakras and balance in a way that is so easy to understand.
Absolutely. So teaching, right? And so this is absolutely how it started. I wrote a curriculum. I'm in the classroom for 13 years, and what I'm seeing is heartbreaking, right? Because I feel like I'm not seeing humans. I'm seeing robots, is what it felt like, right? There's a huge disconnection from spirit, is what it is. And what I was seeing was so much bullying, so much disconnection. Really, children not understanding body language, not understanding facial expressions, right? Where's the boundary? And it's just, and these children that were, right, just so disconnected on a human conscious level. So my window to my classroom was facing the playground, and I used to watch children outside of my window, and the entire game for 30 minutes of recess was, let's kill as many bugs and anthills as possible.
What age group are we talking?
So this specific age group, my last 5 years was pre-K through 5th grade.
Okay.
Out of my window. And I saw high school students as well. They would come to me and leave, but the children that I was seeing out of my window were elementary students.
School. Okay.
And it's kind of this game, right? And we know when we were children, we watched children, and it's like, destroy. That's the game, right? That is a huge disconnection from life. That's a huge disconnection from self. Once you understand self and spirit, you see that in all things. You see that in every human you encounter, animals, bugs, all living sentient beings. It's me. Right? And so I thought I have got to create a curriculum that uses creative expression to teach these social and emotional intelligences, right? because that's so important, and that's really what is going to sustain, right, them as adults, I think.
And starting that young, you actually still have a good chance of being able to influence their thought patterns.
Yes.
So I wrote the curriculum. I did a couple of years of research, right, creating this curriculum. And then when I finally finished, I took it to my classroom and I spent a year teaching this curriculum. So it met all of the state and national standards and objectives, right, for the art classroom, art education classroom. However, right, I brought in all of the social emotional learning, which was beautiful. And so we spent the first 5 or 10 minutes of every classroom, or I'm sorry, every class period on the floor, on the carpet, meditating, right? And we would just learn what it means to find peace in our body, right? And then to stay there and enjoy that peace.
Imagine if all children could learn that at that age.
And I'm curious, when you first introduced this, were they receiving of it? Was it kind of like, what, this lady's crazy? What's going on?
Yeah, so interesting. A lot of I feel like a lot of the students were very receptive. And then you had those few that would sit
right? Making sure I'm not the only one that's doing this.
Yes, or that no one's looking at me. So I told those students that were uncomfortable to face out to the wall, because we sat in a big circle, face out, so you don't feel like everyone's looking at you. But we did Tai Chi. We did, just peaceful movement, peaceful energy. We talked about how our energy is contagious and magnetic, right? Which is very important learning. If we understand that the vibration that we have actually extends at least 8 feet out from our bodies. So people actually feel your energy when you walk into a room. Like you said, I can feel when you're here. You're feeling my energy.
And again, that's the best explanation I have ever heard of this. And I swear, I think it's because you're such a good teacher. You're speaking on a level that everybody can follow. I love it. Sorry, so keep going.
No, so not only is it contagious, right? We know when negative energy enters a room. We can feel it. We can feel how it affects our own energy, and we can feel when sunshine walks in, right? We can feel that.
That's so true, because sometimes I'll walk into work, and I'll walk in and people are at the front desk, and I'll say, okay, what's going on with this energy today? Like, what?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to go out and come back in.
What happened this morning that I need to know about?
Yes,
you can tell.
But it's palpable. You can feel it.
If you're attuned to it.
Yeah. If you're attuned to it.
Right. So how do we teach that? Right? Because we all have this ability to tune in.
Yes.
Right. And it's really about waking up. Right? Thinning the veil between what is physical and what is spiritual. Right. And so the beautiful thing is that the magnetic piece that I'm talking about is when you understand your vibration and you understand how to control it, you also become, you're already a magnet, right? So you're pulling into your reality, whatever level you're vibrating at. If you vibrate at fear, right, you're going to pull things into your reality that reinforce that fear.
Yes.
But if you're vibrating at love and joy, right, this high vibe energy, you're pulling things into your reality that are going to reinforce that. If I'm grateful all the time, my reality is going to continue to give me things that I'm grateful for, right? That's the magic. So when children understand that, when you walk in, you are affecting this community, right? And so how do you want to show up? So I thought the easiest way to break this down was to move through the chakras, and that's what I did for the students. Teaching emotional intelligence and social intelligence, right? Moving through the chakras. So I took that curriculum after a year, and I surveyed all the kids, and the response was so beautiful. And I had parents coming to me saying, I don't know what you did to my kid, but I like it. Come home, grab the yoga mat, and say, I have to go meditate. And they go up to the room, and they meditate, and then they come back down and say, okay, I feel better. Things like that. So all of this beautiful feedback was coming in. And so I took that curriculum to my administration and said, this works, right? These children are so receptive. Another great story, is a little girl came and said, Miss Lewis, I always killed bugs. I didn't even think about it. I was afraid of them. I killed bugs. Now I go and get a jar and I catch the bug and I take it outside. Life, right? That will, it seems so small, but that will extend out, right? And
Yes.
she will be more thoughtful in how she treats things, how her energy is affecting other things, right? And this idea of not destroying life, right? Don't destroy life. Who teaches our children that? And who teaches that it's okay?
Yeah.
Right? That's a disconnection from spirit.
Yes.
So, administration, I said, I'd like to take this to middle school. This is where it will have the most impact, right?
Because middle school is hard.
Middle school is hard, and my daughter was
Yes.
in middle school at that time and dealing with bullying, she was having a very hard time, right? So these children need this. And they weren't interested, which is okay, because that's what sent the ball rolling, right? I was so frustrated when I walk out, they don't know, right?
But that was
They don't know.
That was the kid
They don't
you
know what they
needed.
don't know.
Exactly.
But that's what I needed, and that's when I sold everything and moved to the Bahamas, because I sent my curriculum out to a couple of schools around the world, and a couple of schools were back in touch. So I'm impressed with this curriculum, and the school in the Bahamas specifically said, we'd like for you to bring it. You have full autonomy, right?
Wow.
Teach this to our children. And so we moved, and it didn't work out. We came back, but that inspired
Exactly.
the book. I started doing women's groups at my home and kind of doing betas to transfer the curriculum into learning for adult women.
Well, the one thing I love about your book is that not only do you go through the chakras and talk about the different components, the emotional, spiritual, but you also weave in your own stories and,
it's beautiful.
and what you've learned from it. And I just love that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So there's so much learning. So I believe in self-healing. There are tools, right? And this is really kind of a guide to help you heal yourself, but using my own personal stories as examples, right? Because I really want to show that we're all just imperfectly human, right? We have these imperfect experiences, but we can heal ourselves, right? We can choose consciousness. We can choose healing.
And you have in the book, part of it is a workbook, and you ask the hard questions, and you can't just sit down and read this book in front of the TV. Like you need to be really be focused and be willing to do your inner work and answer some of those questions, and they're not easy.
They're not easy. Exactly. But we can't just say, I want to manifest a positive life.
Right.
And that's a lot of the teaching. The law of attraction, but chunks of learning is missing from that idea. In order to literally raise your vibrational frequency, you have to go through each chakra, because this is where your traumas are stored. And what that does is that makes you more dense, more material, right? It makes you more physical, I guess, more of a physical being. When you raise your vibration, what you're doing is you are, again, thinning that veil, right? So that you can experience yourself more from a spiritual perception. And so when you do that,
Because we are, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. But we're so disconnected from that.
Right.
We don't realize, and we've been taught, it's been hammered in our heads, everything is disconnected, right? We're physical, material, it's a physical, material world, right? Which isn't true, because now we have the science of quantum, right? Which teaches us that we are all vibrating energetic frequencies, right?
Yes.
So when you understand that, which is the secret, right? It opens the door to this magical universal matrix, right? And we have the power to control that, which is right. It blows my mind, because then all these synchronicities start to happen. You literally can change your reality. Yes.
Part of it too is trusting, giving it up and trusting and listening, because you do hear voices come to you, whether you realize what it is or not. Something is guiding you.
Yes.
And you have to believe it and trust it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But the more dense you are, the lower your vibrational frequency, the voice of your shadow is going to be much louder than the voice of your light.
Yes.
So it's a cleansing process, a shedding, right? Ascension is a shedding process. You are letting go of everything that does not benefit your highest self.
So it's almost like letting go of your ego.
Which, that's a job, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, it is. It's tempering. The ego is always going to be there. That shadow, that, or whatever it is, that it's a protector. Really, is what it's trying to do. Self-preservation, right? It's always going to be there, but with intention and practice, right, and cleansing, raising the vibration, that voice of light starts to overpower the voice of shadow. Absolutely.
So we were talking before you got here, again, about the book. In case you haven't picked up on it, we're huge fans of the book. But we were saying that the way you walk through, so Ascension is basically raising your vibration, raising through the chakras, starting at the root. But you are the first person that I've at least noticed really talking about the shadow part. Most of the time you want to kind of put that to the side. Let's focus on making more of the positive.
Well, I've heard, that's what we were saying. I've heard a lot about, your shadow self, and I've read a lot about it, but I've never done the work myself.
And that's what's so beautiful about this is you really focus on, and I would open it, but I don't have my glasses on, so I wouldn't be able to see it. But as you go through each chakra, you have the center. This is how you feel when this chakra is in balance. And this is how you feel when you have too much positive, or this is how you feel. So when it's out of balance, which is what we love talking about.
Right, balance.
So can you kind of walk through the process behind going through the ascension process and working through the chakras, and kind of how the book is set up to help people through this process?
Sure. So, and like I said, there's so many layers to it, right? And it's hard to, I think it's hard to fully explain this, and just but I will do my best.
Well, if we could just get the basic guideline, because then, people should buy the book and go through it.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, we are kind of taught to not pay attention to the shadow, right? Or right? Oh, well, I have a good example. So I have a friend of mine that's always says, well, I don't do that. Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do.
But feels that if I say I don't do it, right, then it's kind of dismissed, right? I don't have to think about it. But it really is about consciousness, right? And that is the foundation of this. Consciousness, waking up from the dream.
That's what we always say, being aware.
Yes.
Yeah, being aware. And so it takes, I think, a lot of courage to face the traumas and also to face those things about ourselves that aren't very pretty, right? And so a lot of it is subconscious programming. Our subconscious is programmed when we are children, right? And then we take all of those learnings into our adult life. So the ways that you learn to survive as a child, in whatever the circumstance was, and for some it's much more traumatic than others, right? In different ways. But the ways that you learn to survive as a child, that's what you take into your adult life, and you expect to thrive from these survival skills, right? And so what we have to do as adult people, we have to become conscious so that we can change those negative habits and patterns and behaviors, right, that we've brought along. For example, my childhood taught me to be very guarded. My childhood taught me to not trust anyone. My childhood taught me to be very distant from people and to observe, always to be on the outside observing, because that's how I knew how to keep myself safe, right?
Interesting.
A boyfriend of my mother's used to hold me down and like tickle me and like suffocate me. And so I brought that into my adult life. I had my daughter, right, who thought it was the funniest thing in the world to chase me around and try to tickle me. And this is a story in the book. Very interesting. And my childhood, my subconscious self-preservation, right, was fight, right? And so I didn't realize it. And I'm like, Ty, stop. And she's on me. She's laughing hysterically.
Right.
She's having just this best mommy-daughter time, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, get off, you know? I was fighting because I was back in that space.
Yeah.
My baby, right? My daughter. So things like that, right? That's being conscious. So I didn't say, oh, it's just how I was raised, right? Oh, well, I just don't like. I had to sit with that, and I had to heal that because I wanted to choose love over fear.
You know, I have I have an example of that too. So growing up I was kind of bullied in middle school. And so now my children, I have adult children, and my husband, like if they're joking around and they make fun of me, it really triggers me. I lose it. And I think it's definitely tied to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so again, it's facing those things. It's going back through your timeline, and it's facing all of that trauma that we've collected and stored in our body. And it's writing a new narrative. Right? So what I had to understand was that hurt people hurt people. He was hurting me, but he had probably been hurt himself.
Right.
And so to offer grace to the person who has hurt you, there's tremendous healing in that, right? To be able to switch your perspective to seeing that person as a small child, right? Seeing those people that were hurting you as being on the opposite end of being hurt, right? And it's about compassion and grace, right? And so you have to go through and heal those things. You have to allow light in where there's things taking up space. You've got to heal that, cleanse it, get rid of it, and then, oh my gosh, the universe comes rushing in and fills you with light. And that's the beauty of it, right? But you cannot make space for that unless you're willing to make space for that. So you have to go back through all of that and heal yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. So I am going to attempt to open this. As I said, I don't have glasses on, so I'm going to look like the
What are you looking for?
little old lady.
A specific
So this page.
Oh, yeah.
So what as you're talking, I'm picturing this page. So what?
And that page is available for every chakra.
So that's what I was going to say. Yes. As Kara goes through each chakra and talks about the element and the location and the foundation and the light and the shadow and all these things, then there's this page, and it goes through which crystal would be good to help heal this area. What meditation is good? What
the yoga pose, right? I mean, the affirmations.
Yes. And it's so beautiful to see that this encompasses everything. It talks about foods to eat.
Well, even the food, and I know you have a food of the color of each chakra for each section. Yes. I mean, it's very cool.
When you talk about sitting with it and healing it, those sound like great words. But the thing I love is that this then goes and tells you exactly how to do that.
How? Yeah, and things that can support you on that journey. Absolutely.
Right.
Because holistic healing, right, that's another thing, that's part of raising your vibration, connecting more with the earth, right, connecting more with spirit, right? All of these things are going to assist you in this journey of ascension.
Yes.
And it is a journey. And I'm surprised that you guys, you got through it so fast because
I couldn't.
You'll
put it
have
down.
to go
I
back,
like, well, yes.
right? And really, I always say, spend a month on a chapter. Right?
So
Take your time.
Yes. So I went through it fast because I wanted to read it and get to know it before I met you.
Yes.
But now I'm going to go back and do the work.
Do the work.
Yes.
Yes.
And I know when I first met you, it was when you were setting up the groups of people to get together. I think it was at like a 7-week. You met once a week.
Once a week.
And you went through each of the chapters, and you did the work, and you did the project at the end and all that. I know COVID hit and then everything went to hell in a handbasket, but I love the idea of this being a group effort as well. And that was something that Joni and I talked about too, that we want to buy the book for everybody. And we want to bring all of our friends and family in and kind of do this together. And I think, Joni has grown kids, which they still need this information.
Absolutely.
But I have a freshman in high school and a middle schooler. And I think this would be something that would be beautiful for parents and children to do together, or groups of children to do together. So have you gone back to doing those groups and trying to get those things set up?
So no, because I am actually currently working on an edition for teens.
Oh,
and so that's what I've been focusing on this year. And so hopefully by spring, summer at the latest, we should have that published.
Oh, wow.
So that's great.
A new
That's
project that I'm
fantastic.
working on now. So I have not gone back to working in groups, but I will say that what a beautiful experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
So book clubbing this is such a fantastic idea. We laughed together, we cried together, and we were all strangers, right? We walked into this space and nobody really knew each other.
Sometimes I think that's better.
I think so.
Yeah,
Because you put some of those guards down because it's
There's
not,
no expectations.
right, and you're not telling your deepest, darkest secrets in front of your friends. They're strangers. You may never see them again, or they may become your best friends.
And sometimes you get stuck in the pattern with friends that you've known for a long time. Like you act like the person they expect you to be. It's hard to open up and change those what do you call it? Perceptions or beliefs or expectations.
Yeah.
So maybe that's right. A group of friends, I didn't think about that, may change the dynamic some, but
I think it can be
was such a
beautiful either
fantastic
way.
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Yes, and what was
Well, and that's just me being scared.
Right.
opening up, and that's the other thing is that we had to be perfect children and perfect sisters and perfect daughters and perfect wives and perfect mothers, and this idea of perfection is just so like, I think it's just such a part of who we are. This
Giving
idea
up
of
the
who we're supposed to
perfect.
be.
Giving up the perfect is something that I have been working on for years. Like it doesn't matter. It's okay to be messy.
It is, and that's what's human.
And I don't mean I mean messy like in all aspects. You know what I mean? It's okay. That's hard for me.
Yeah.
It's hard for a lot of people. It really is. And I think there's so much beauty in the imperfection, right? And that's what's human. And that's what we connect with.
Right.
Right? So to answer your question that just came back to me, do you want me to kind of go through each one of like kind of what are some important teachings for each chakra? Would that be helpful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the intro is the awakening, right? This consciousness, right? Opening your eyes and waking up from the dream, right? And once you do that, then it's okay. Now what? How? Right? What do I take? Where do I go from here? Right? What's next? And so I think it's easiest to understand through the chakras. And there's emotional intelligence piece for each one, which is huge because we have to be able to recognize where we are taking up too much space in a room and where we're shrinking ourselves and allowing other people to take too much space in the room, right? And so it has to be this balance. But beautiful learnings for each chakra. The root chakra teaches us that our avatar, which is our physical body, is nature, right? Our body is it's organic. It's an organism, right? And so that's the first teaching is understanding that, number one. And if we understand that our body is nature, right? And that we are an expression just like all of nature, right? So again, that connection, bugs, animals, plant, life is us, right? That's who we are. So when we connect and heal through nature, that again, raising the vibration. So then we get to the sacral chakra, which is the world of emotions and creativity, right? And so the lesson here is number one, to be emotionally intelligent. If we understand that each emotion has a frequency and sits on a table, may I?
Yes, you may.
Okay. This is such a beautiful page, I think.
I remember the one you're talking about. I can't picture where it is. But I've started listening, playing, because each one, as you were saying, each emotion has a frequency. And so I have found this playlist that's beautiful because you can request a certain frequency that vibrates with the emotion that you're looking for. And so I just kind of play it in the house and have it going.
That's nice.
And it's very cool because I feel like I'm trying to raise the vibration just by having that sound playing.
Very cool.
So this is your guide, right, of where emotions are sitting on this scale. And something I just recently learned is that only 0.4% of the population is vibrating at 500 or above.
Wow.
0.4%.
That's pretty small.
And 500 or above represents joy, love, peace, and enlightenment.
That's right.
Love that.
That most of society is vibrating down here.
All right, that's my goal, 500 and above.
And that is the separation, right? Human and spirit, right? So the world of emotions, that's your sacral chakra. And we want to be mindful of where we're vibrating, and we have the ability to change it. If I say to you, close your eyes and put all of your awareness on your knee, right? You can take your awareness to your knee. And if I say, take your awareness right now to your left earlobe, you can immediately move your awareness, and you can do that with your emotions, right? We choose to stay low, right? We get angry and we want to just vibrate there, right? We're so sad and we'll extend that out. But we have the ability to say, I'm now going to switch my awareness to a place of light. You can do that, right? So
You're very good at doing that, by the way. She tries to bring me along with her. Come on.
Yes, right. Yeah, yes. And so also the creativity part, singing and dancing and creating. If you do that in freedom, you're raising your vibration. So then you move to your solar plexus, which is all about your personal power and what is your purpose? And are you aligning yourself to that purpose, right? And then we move to the heart chakra, right? And this is so much about grace and compassion, but mostly for yourself. It's going in and forgiving yourself for all of the places in your life that you have failed, or that you felt you failed, or disappointed someone, or you are ashamed of something you've done, right? So if you have to go in, heal that, offer grace, and if you do that, then you will, it's much easier to give grace and compassion to other people in their failures, in their imperfections, right? I'm late everywhere I go, and I'm right. And I'm always apologizing for it. I'm so sorry. But I've learned to accept that piece of myself, right? Is that I'm gonna. It's gonna take me a while.
I'll give you a little piece of advice that I read somewhere the other day, and it was saying,
I know what you're gonna say.
Replace "I'm sorry" with "thank you." So instead of "I'm sorry, I'm late," thank you for being
waiting.
patient. Thank you for waiting.
I love that.
I knew what you were gonna say.
I love that.
See, we're all learning.
Yes, but because I know that about myself, I'm tapping, I am so gracious to other people in their shortcomings and the failures and the imperfections. It's always love, always grace, because I need it, right? If I need it, I got to give it, right? So, and then the throat chakra, it's all about sound, that voice in your head, that critic, that voice that's always telling you you're not good enough, right? You didn't do it right. It's silencing that, right? And so understanding that sound has a vibration, words have vibration, and if you are speaking life, right, into yourself, into others, again, you're raising the vibration, but also being mindful of what you're listening to, right? The music that we listen to, the things that we allow, that vibration, right, is either raising or lowering, right, your frequency. So throat chakra, then we move to the third eye, which is all about the way that we perceive, right? It's illumination, right? Perceiving ourselves as light. If we switch our perception of our own identity, then we are going to change the perception of our reality, right? So if you turn on the light, right, everything changes.
Yes.
What you see changes.
It's beautiful.
And then you have your crown chakra, and here's what's beautiful, right? When you clean and clear all of those chakras, you're aligning, then you're opening the crown to source, right? That is
receive.
To receive. You're a receiver. Your brain is a receiver, yeah. So it makes it more clear. I can hear source louder than I hear shadow, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and intention. It takes practice, and all of that is in here.
It's all in here, and I'm telling you, everybody's got to have it. So we'll obviously put a link on our show website for the book. How can people find you? Because in addition to this fabulous book, she's also a beautiful artist. I mean, your artwork is amazing. You do commissioned work.
Yes.
I mean, she's just so talented. So how can people find you?
So you can find me at my website, which is artistkaraelizabeth.com. IG and Facebook is artist.karaelizabeth. And so those would be the best ways to reach me. Contact pages are on both, and both sites. So, so you can definitely track me down that way.
Wonderful.
But I'm teaching and creating in my studio. So I'm teaching foundations and explorations and portfolio development to elementary, middle school students. And then creating, I do tons of pet portraits. People love pet portraits. So So I do tons of those, but my signature style is collage. So I'm a formally trained painter, and I did that for years. And so what I did was take that training and then apply it to paper. So I build paper in the same way that I build paint.
Oh.
Right, many layers and a lot of glazing, and so anyway, I've created this kind of signature style, and so that's where my heart is, and that's what I love to do. So I get a lot of commissions for that as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
that's great.
Well, I can't thank you enough. I think the explanation of the chakras, hearing you say it was beautiful and spot on. Walking through the book and going through the exercises that are with it, it's just, I think I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you.
I'm gonna start the Kara fan
Right.
club.
I need a fan club. So. Thank you for saying all of that.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an amazing conversation.
Absolute
for
pleasure.
having
You're
me.
another guest that we could have on for an entire season and still not get through everything.
We wouldn't get through everything. That's
I
true.
know.
Absolutely, so much. Yes. So
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us.
yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow. I feel like we say this every week, but that was amazing.
So it's so funny because, and the viewers wouldn't know this, but we have been recording these episodes for months and they're just now airing. And so
Yes.
every time I watch one, I'm like, oh, I just said that. Oh, that was so amazing. Wow. But I'm going to say it again. That was absolutely amazing. And I feel like every time we have someone on that I learn so much.
I know.
And I know that's what we were hoping to accomplish with this platform, but
Yes.
I don't think I expected to learn as much as I'm learning.
Well, I think it's so fantastic. Not only are we learning, but our whole goal was to have our audience learn with us.
Right.
And I think that's what's
I
happening.
think that's what's happening. But I'll tell you what, I don't know if Kara needs an agent, but I am going to take this book on tour because I'm telling you, and I haven't even, as we said, I haven't even sat down and gone through all of the work.
Right.
But just reading it is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, so now I'm going to do the work now. And I really am buying that for people for Christmas.
Oh, I am too, for sure. And I'm still thinking I'm gonna try to get Kara to bring the groups together, and I think it would be such a great bonding experience for friends and people with kids. And I don't know, I'm telling you.
Well, she is such
love
a ray
with
of
it.
light, and I could see her facilitating
Oh, for sure.
a group.
Yeah.
Her-
Even beyond the classroom. I think the classroom is a great environment for her, but I see her leading millions of people.
Wow.
I don't know, I'm telling you. There's something to it.
Yeah.
Something to it.
I hear you.
So I can't wait to see who we have next.
I know.
It just keeps getting better.
So much fun.
Do you think you'll have straight hair next time?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks really pretty.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Stay
we look
tuned.
forward to next week.
See who's here and how Joni's hair is. You just never know. Thanks.